Hi farmers, I'm Gary and we're chatting to Dr. Ivan Meyer, Minister of Agriculture, Western Province. Doctor, thank you so much for meeting with us.
It's great, and thank you for joining us here in our tent. The Western Cape Department of Agriculture is very pleased to connect with Farmers Weekly.
Wonderful. So, Minister, tell me, how would you say the department or the Western Cape agriculture is doing compared to the rest of the country's agriculture?
Well, I think let's review the data, and that will tell the big story.
Yes.
We have 17,000 farmers here in the Western Cape, 10,000 commercial farmers. The Western Cape is 20% of South Africa's commercial farmers. So
yes.
This is the biggest commercial farmers, and the contribution of commercial farmers in terms of revenue generation is 102 billion rand.
Yes.
So that tells the story of how significant agriculture is in the Western Cape. But more importantly, for us it is important to also recognize the contribution of agri-workers. We are the only province with an agri-worker competition. We have about 236,000 agri-workers and another 250,000 agri-processing. Agriculture in the Western Cape, in terms of the economy, it's about 11% of the economy of the Western Cape, 4% primary agriculture, 7% secondary agriculture, in other words, the agri-processing.
Yes.
You ask me, what is the state of agriculture?
Yes.
The Western Cape is now responsible for 58% of South Africa's primary agricultural exports. So, in short, I'm proud of our farmers, our agri-workers, because they are the real producers. You can only export once we have production, and we have some of the best farmers here in South Africa.
Yes, that's wonderful. So, Minister, I also want to ask you, when you started, you had a list of priorities, your top focus priorities. How has that list evolved?
I'm very happy that you speak about it, because in my first term as the Minister of Agriculture, I prioritized, for example, the issue of agricultural support, education and training. For me, that's very important.
Yes.
Because agriculture is a science needs research. So research, education and training, very important. We have the oldest agricultural training college on the African continent, dating back from 1898. In other words, a year before the Anglo-Boer War. The second priority is, because I have 70,000 farmers, was farmer support.
Yes.
Thirdly, because of what has happened in South Africa, we must be honest and confront issues of crime, and that's why I had a priority for rural safety, very important.
Yes.
And as I just told you, because we are now responsible for 58% of our primary agricultural export, market access was a key priority for me.
Yes.
And given where the world is now, I also had a priority for climate change.
Yes.
Now your question is quite direct. How are we doing in my 5 priorities?
Yes.
Well, I have published a record of delivery. So those 5 priorities was documented, all the outputs, all the outcomes, and those things that I've achieved is well documented in my record of delivery. In fact, the only department in South Africa that has published a record of delivery for agriculture for the last 5 years. And you're most welcome. It's on the website of the Western Cape government. It is Google. Recently I gave a copy of our record of delivery for the Minister of Agriculture in Bavaria, Germany. She was blown away. She has never seen anything like that.
Yes.
And this term, we will do the same.
That's wonderful. That's great. And then my next question for you would be, and you touched on it briefly, in 2020 you mentioned your focus on rural safety, not just for farmers, but for the farm workers. How have you, how has that grown and how has that evolved, and what are the measurable metrics that you can share with us?
Well, very importantly, because one of the things, if you want to solve a problem, you must first admit that a problem exists.
Yes.
And it must be backed by data. So based on the data we have seen at the time, there was an increase over the last 5 years in numbers of people that were attacked or killed in terms of farm murders and farm attacks, both agri-workers and farmers.
Yes.
I went to a farm where a farmer was attacked the previous term,
Yes.
2 vessels. I went to his farm, I smelled the blood, I met his family, I attended the funeral of 2,000 people. One person was arrested, the 2 escaped to Lesotho. through the works of the NPA and the police, that people were extradited back to South Africa. I was in court. I opposed bail. They got life sentence. But I don't want a farmer to be killed.
Yes.
That's why we are working with the neighborhood watches and the farm watches. I did personally, and Daniel, my media officer, we did personal farm watch inspections.
Yes.
We went to the Bethlehem in the Free State.
Yes.
We patrolled with the farmers of the Free State. We saw that night 4 cattle were stolen. So I take this issue of farm attacks quite seriously.
Yes.
And here's the reason. An attack on a farm is an attack on the economy. And my key job is to grow the economy. And I want people to respect farmers because they make a big contribution. So we have established also a rural safety committee, an interministerial committee in the rural safety. We was going to launch later the rural safety strategy, but was postponed that. For us, very important, we've developed a dashboard. We can tell you exactly what type of rural safety crime happened, where did it happen. We have a court watching brief. We go to the court, we engage with our Department of Community Safety, we engage with the NPA,
Yes.
we find out where are those matters in court,
Yes.
because I want to see justice for our farmers. So I think we've put the structures and procedures in place, and now the new Minister of Police Oversight and Community Safety, Minister Anuru Mare, has
Yes.
now taken over that responsibility. She now chairs the Interministerial Committee on Rural Safety, and I provide support to her.
That's wonderful. That's great. So then my next question would go towards international trade. And obviously the Western Cape is a very large contributor towards trade. And there have been quite a couple of challenges now with international trade. What are your ideas or solutions to navigate around these challenges?
That's a very important question and a very complex issue. Since 20th of January this year,
Yes.
since there was a change in the White House, we have experienced some dramatic changes in the global trade environment, particularly the global geopolitics,
Yes.
particularly in terms of the trade tariffs and the trade war. What we have done, we have said, let's look at the data, let's look at where we're exporting, where are we importing, what are the products that we are exporting. And so for us, we decided on the following strategy. First, listen to the farmers, listen to the exporters.
Yes.
I'm in regular contact with the Western Cape Exporters Forum, with the chairperson. We have now commissioned a study through BFAP to say, let us look at the impact of tariffs in agriculture here in the Western Cape. So that study is currently being undertaken. We have met with the people, for example, companies that export to the US, and there are about 600 companies in South Africa that export to the US. There's about 1,800 products that are being traded between South Africa and the US. So we did that data analysis so that we know what is the quantum of that. For agriculture, it's about 4% of the products that we export to the US, although it's very small, but it's significant. Citrus, wine, table grapes, macadamia.
Yes.
So we are looking at the data and see what is the impact of that. And so for us, our approach is keep the political temperature down, do economic diplomacy,
Yes.
reach out, look at market diversification. For
Yes.
example, last year, and I'm very proud of all the farmers in South Africa, last year we had the biggest exporter of South African agriculture worldwide,
Yes.
13.7 billion US dollar. That is massive. So our farmers in South Africa, getting no subsidies from the government,
Yes.
have to export and compete with other countries internationally.
Yes.
So what we have done now, last week, the Premier of the Western Cape, Gary Wium, and myself, we addressed the American Chamber of Business.
Yes.
On a quarterly basis, I also meet with the Consul General of the United States of America. The end of this week,
Yes.
our Premier will now go to Washington and New York. So for us, this is important. We look at all the opportunities to diversify our market, Africa, Middle East, Europe. The question is why Europe? 96% of all the products that South Africa export to the European Union
Yes.
are free from tariffs. We also look at India, China, Southeast Asia. These are the big markets. So we are currently busy with a number of trade missions around the world to protect our exports here in the Western Cape.
And that's wonderful. So then that would get your target of the 450 billion that you were aiming to achieve by 2035. That would aid in the development thereof.
Absolutely. My target for export is to triple our exports, particularly our agricultural products. We are already seeing that South Africa, last year 66% of all South Africa's agricultural exports went on the African continent. So we will also extend our footprint on the African continent. They're closer to us, so it makes it much more easier. We have seen the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. Despite these challenges, we will persist and pursue it.
Yes.
We had a delegation going to India, 1.4 billion people. There's another delegation that will also go soon to Canada. I have met with the Minister of Finance of Canada, and he said Canada is open for business, and we've seen what Mr. Trump did to Canada, and Canadians took the wine off the shelves from America that is in Canada. So we want to fill that gap. Later this month, I will travel to Spain to meet with the fruit attraction. So this is the global biggest fruit attraction. We have been to fruit attraction in Asia.
Yes.
So we are not sitting here, we are moving. But more importantly, the businesses, the commodity organizations,
yes,
they do their own thing, they travel, they connect. The Fresh Produce Export Forum was recently also with Fruit SA in India.
Yes.
So what we are doing here in the Western Cape, we're scanning the environment, diversify our markets, and use economic diplomacy to open up more markets for our products.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And then the AGOA agreement coming to an end in September. What challenges does that pose?
Yes, AGOA, unfortunately, the way I see it is or will come to an end.
Yes.
And it comes mainly to an end because of the politics of South Africa.
Yes.
You cannot expect a country like the United States to give us almost free preferential treatment.
Yes.
And then you have issues like a general visiting Iran, South Africa planning military exercises between China and Russia.
Yes.
Those things irritate the United States.
Yes.
And I think our politics and our foreign policy is the main reason why I think AGOA will not be renewed next week, in fact next Monday.
Yes.
And that is a reality. But as we are sitting here, we are looking at opportunities because very importantly, we are also in touch with the Citrus Growers Association because they will be severely affected. Job numbers will drop also not only here but also in the US. We also know that tariffs drives up inflation.
Yes.
It also, remember if you export, there's an import in the United States.
Yes.
That importer will then face that 30% tariffs.
Yes.
He will put it on the consumer. The consumer will say, but this is 30% more expensive.
Yes.
And our competitors, such in Peru and Chile, they have 15% tariff. Obviously, their products will be cheaper.
Yes.
And so we will face severe consequences. But farmers are very resilient.
Yes.
Farmers, as they say in Afrikaans, 'n boer maak 'n plan.
Absolutely.
And I can tell you farmers are making plans.
Yes.
And that's why we are working with them, with Westgrow, which is our Western Cape Trade and Tourism Promotion Agency,
Yes.
to look for other markets. Obviously, it doesn't happen overnight. To establish market takes a number of years, but we are putting the building blocks, the economic diplomacy in place to make sure that we can have other global markets, particularly the European Union.
Yes. Well, that's great. And then I think if there's an opportunity, let's chat about education. Education has been the cornerstone of your approach. What new plans and developments do you have in place, and what successes have you had while in office?
Well, we have seen that the national government in my previous term were quite determined to take over the Elsenburg Agricultural Training College.
Yes.
I have a serious concern about that because I know if the national government take over a functional institution, it will no longer be functional. So I made it absolutely clear, this is not an institution I said, don't touch me on my studio. So we worked very closely with the University of Stellenbosch. We have signed the MOU. The higher education stuff will be transferred to the University of Stellenbosch, and we will keep the other stuff. You are also aware that we also have 98% of all the wine cellars in South Africa are based in the Western Cape.
Yes.
We also train winemakers. If you travel around the Western Cape and meet a winemaker, you can ask him where did he got his training. He will tell you Elsenburg Agricultural Training College. In equestrian horses, we also have some training for that. Plant sciences, animal sciences, soil science, climatology, all of that stuff is being taught at Elsenburg Agricultural Training College. Yes. We believe to invest in the youth. We've published also a booklet, 50 career opportunities in agriculture. We published the second booklet, The Future of Agriculture. And no more do people have to worry, because agriculture is now high-tech.
Yes.
Precision agriculture, it's also the theme
Absolutely.
of Nampo, looking at new innovation and technology. So I'm proud. Every year we produce a number of graduates at Elsenburg, also a diploma in agriculture, skills courses. We are the only functional agricultural training college in South Africa, and I'm very proud of the work. We have appointed now a new principal, and he's doing outstanding work. Soon we will sign a memorandum of understanding between a university in Germany and our college to improve also the quality of our education.
That's fantastic. And obviously, like you mentioned, we are at Nampo Cape. And this event is all about inspiration and motivation and sharing knowledge and sharing skills. If you had a message to anyone considering farming in the Western Cape, or the farmers in the Western Cape, and the farmers I think in South Africa, what would that be?
Well, you use the word inspiration. And I'm very happy that you use it, because the other word that links with inspiration is enthusiasm. When I meet people here, I see high levels of enthusiasm.
Yes.
Now the word enthusiasm is derived from a Greek word meaning entheos. Entheos means filled with the Spirit. And I think that's what I like here from farmers. They are filled with the Spirit.
Yes.
Their purpose is to farm, and we see it in the way they're conducting their business.
Yes.
But my key job, I must grow the economy. To grow the economy, you need three things. The first thing you need is consumer confidence. I see consumers using the products of our farmers.
Yes.
Not only the primary products, but also our secondary products. The second thing to grow the economy is to have business confidence. I look around here at Nampo and I see the many exhibitors. These are business people that invest in their businesses. That speaks to business confidence. And lastly, speaks to investment confidence. And I see the investments that Nampo make every year to grow the economy. So I'm quite excited. I'm enthused by the spirit, the exhibitors. There's something for everybody. There's something for primary agriculture. There's something for secondary agriculture. There's a youth show. There's a skills development. There's school children coming here. There's new technology, new innovation. There's the horse racing competition that I just came from. There's a test match now taking place between Australia, the tent pegging, and South Africa, and the youth. And there's also a women group that also do some activities here. So I'm excited to be here because I see the value and the return. This year they added new things here to Nampo.
Yes.
There's new technology, new innovation, and every year you can see the growth.
Yes.
I'm excited about it because people put a lot of investment into it, and it is the biggest agricultural show here in the Western Cape, and we're also very thankful that Great SA, the key sponsors and the other partners every year are committed, and I'm looking forward next year in May to join Nampo Boertbou in the Free State.
That's great. Well, Minister, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. We really appreciate it. Farmers, until next time, goodbye.